All right, today we're diving into a fascinating new paper that basically gives you a step-by-step guide for turning something like ChatGPT into your own personal assistant for qualitative research. Yeah, you heard that right. Let's get into it.
So if you've ever done any qualitative research, you know this feeling, right? You're just drowning in data. We're talking hours and hours of interviews, endless pages of user reviews, just these huge mountains of text. And your job is to find the hidden patterns, the themes, the real insights. It can be completely overwhelming.
Now, thematic analysis is a fantastic way to make sense of all that chaos. It's a really powerful method, but let's be honest, doing it the traditional way, manually, is a total marathon. It's incredibly time-consuming and, because it all comes down to human interpretation, our own biases can sometimes sneak in. Okay, so what's the alternative? Well, imagine you had an assistant that could read everything in seconds, spot connections you might have missed after hours of work, and it never gets tired. That's the big idea in this paper, using generative AI as a true collaborator in your research. And let's be crystal clear about something right up front. This is not about letting a machine take over. The researcher, that's you, is still the pilot. You are in full control of the intellectual heavy lifting, the context, and the final analysis. The AI is a tool, a really powerful one, designed to augment your skills, not replace them.
Now, this whole thing isn't just about randomly telling an AI to go find themes. No way. The method here is built on a really rigorous process called systematic thematic analysis. Think of it as a framework that makes sure you're not just finding random patterns, but that you're building insights that are directly connected to your original research questions.
So how does this actually work in practice? Well, the paper lays out a very clear 6-step method for integrating ChatGPT into this systematic process. Let's walk through the roadmap. So here it is, the whole roadmap. And notice something interesting. It doesn't just start with dumping in the raw data. The very first step is familiarizing the AI with your research context. From there, it flows logically, from identifying keywords to creating codes, building themes, and finally, developing a conceptual model. But the key thing to see here is that human guidance is the thread that connects every single one of these steps. So here are those 6 steps laid out nice and neat. First, you teach the AI all about your research, your goals, the theories, the context. Then, it helps you select keywords, group them into codes, and organize those codes into themes. The final steps are all about interpreting those themes to form concepts and then building out your final model. It's a really clean, logical progression. Now, this is where it gets really smart. To ensure the process is rigorous, the authors don't just ask the AI for good keywords. That's way too vague. Instead, they provide it with specific frameworks, like the 6 R's for keywords and coding and the 4 R's for themes. This basically acts as a quality control, making sure the output is always relevant, robust, and tied directly back to the data.
But does all this actually make a difference? Well, the paper puts it to the test with a case study, comparing a manual analysis with one that was assisted by ChatGPT. And the results? They're pretty eye-opening.
This quote from the paper really gets to the heart of the AI's biggest strength. Because it can process the entire data set all at once, without getting tired or having any preconceived ideas, it can spot a much wider range of keywords and patterns than a human researcher might catch on their own. And here is what that looks like in the real world. The manual keywords at the top, they're good. They capture user feelings. But then look at the ChatGPT selection below. It's not just about sentiment, it's pinpointing specific functional issues like navigation problems and app reliability. It gives you a much more complete picture of the user experience. And that broader, richer set of keywords allowed the AI to identify a much more detailed set of initial codes. It came up with 16 distinct codes. That gives the researcher so much more granularity to work with in the next step. This table really shows you the result of that granularity. So the manual analysis produced 6 codes. They're powerful, but they're a little abstract. In contrast, the AI's 16 codes are way more specific, pointing to concrete issues like user interface satisfaction and technical frustrations. These are things you can actually act on. And of course, that difference carries all the way through to the final themes. The manual themes are conceptual, focusing on the user's internal experience. The AI-generated themes, like operational and technical efficiency, are much more action-oriented and system-focused. You can see how this could lead to very different and potentially more practical research outcomes. So what does this all mean for the future of how we do research? Let's take a look at the possibilities and the things we need to be careful about.
So the benefits are pretty obvious, right? It's faster, it can find more patterns, and it's incredibly consistent. But the paper is also really clear about the caveats. The AI has no real-world context. It only knows what you give it. You also have the black box problem. We don't always know how it got to a conclusion. And that is exactly why human oversight and well-crafted prompts are absolutely non-negotiable.
Ultimately, this all comes down to transparency. The whole point is that the researcher's expertise is more critical than ever. You provide the context, you evaluate the output, and you make sure the whole process is sound. The AI becomes a powerful tool in your toolbox, not some kind of magic 8-ball.
By providing such a rigorous, transparent framework, this paper shows that the answer could very well be yes. It gives us a glimpse into a future where human intellect and artificial intelligence can collaborate to uncover deeper, richer insights from our data. The only question left is, are we ready to start that conversation?